So we have this idea called case analysis, which says that you can factor an expression, look at the signs of the factors, and it'll tell you something about the factors of the whole thing, or the sign of the whole thing. First, I am not happy with how this one is written, so I'm going to reconfigure it. It starts out minus 3x squared minus 14x plus 5 is greater than or equal to 0. Now, this negative out front is a bad thing as far as I'm concerned. I want to get rid of it. So I'm going to multiply the entire expression by negative 1. Negative 1 times negative 3x squared, negative 1 times negative 14x, negative 1 times 5, negative 1 times 0. Now, what goes here? Remember what happens when you multiply by a negative number? This inequality actually flips around to face in the opposite direction. Pretty important to remember that when you're doing an inequality, because this question is going to be all about whether this number is higher than or less than 0. So, next thing we want to do according to the case analysis idea is factor it. Turns out you can pull this apart into 3x minus 1 and x plus 5. We want that to be less than or equal to 0. So, these two factors we need to be lower than 0, as in negative. There's two ways that that could happen. Either this first one is positive and the other factor is negative, or the opposite. The first one's negative and the second one's positive. Either way, when you multiply them together, you'll get a negative product, which is what this thing is calling for. So, how do we solve these at the same time? I'm going to start with this case, the plus and minus. That means either 3x minus 1 is greater than 0, as in positive, and at the same time x plus 5 is less than 0. Can we solve that? 3x is greater than 1, x is greater than 1/3, and at the same time x is lower than negative 5. What do you think? Here's what that looks like on a number line. Here's 0. 1/3 is about here. So this first piece is saying x has to be higher than 1/3 out here. This piece is saying at the same time x has to be minus 5 or something lower. Well, it can't be both at once. Those two requirements are totally contradictory. It's like saying someone has to be over 18 and under 10 at the same time for age. You can't do both of those at once. So this combination is entirely impossible. Forget about it. Let's see if we have more luck with the second one. The second one says 3x minus 1 has to be negative, and at the same time x plus 5 has to be positive. Can we do that? That would mean 3x is less than 1, which means x is less than 1/3, and at the same time x is greater than negative 5. Let's see if we can arrange that. Here's minus 5, so we have to be at negative 5 or higher, and at the same time x has to be 1/3 or lower. Why, yes, we can do that. You can have both of those things as long as you're between negative 5 and 1/3. Saying we have to be under 1/3 and we have to be over negative 5 at the same time. So we have this range from negative 5 up to 1/3. Sorry, I'll draw that so you can see it a little better. I'll scroll down so we have more space, rather. From minus 5 all the way up to 1/3 with open circles on both ends. That would be the solution here. For those two numbers, this expression will come out greater than or equal to 0.